Well, I went and did it this week. I did it. I didn't pre-schedule this live. Like 6 weeks in a row, I pre-schedule a live, and then this time I do not. But it's a good experiment. It's a nice thing in marketing. If you don't do something you're supposed to, you can call it an experiment. Oh, I was testing to see if scheduled gets more than unscheduled. I think you know the answer to that. We already know the answer. Which is you should probably pre-schedule stuff so people can get the reminder. So when you see this in your LinkedIn feed or the YouTubes, you can be reminded of it. And, well, so here we are. We're going to see how this one goes. Listening to the smooth sounds of Sweet Pea from AidenTaylorMusic.com, who's also our oldest. At home, going to look at places in Toronto right now to where he's going to be, his next chapter, where he's going to live. Good luck to you, young man. You have a bright future. Sean is in the house. Thank you. If y'all don't know Sean, you really need to go say what's up and say hi. As long as you're a cool person, like as long as you're not weird and like you just will bombard them with stuff. I say that because I don't want you breaking down the door saying Scott sent you. But Sean is one of our favorite humans. He's a brilliant guy, very kind, very funny, supportive, and gives his time to everybody. And it's one of those people that, you know, has made it to a certain level of his profession, but is always giving back. And so people like Sean, and you're very welcome. People like Sean is, you know, what the world needs more of at this point, which is people who really, you know, want to help, want to give. And Sean is like that. And so he's also an incredible guitar player, incredible mind in the music business, you know, writer, producer, and also guitar for Enrique Iglesias and Smash Mouth, to name a few acts you may have heard of. And he's amazing. Amazing on all levels. So I loved watching Sean from afar back in the day of how he'd interact with fans, and he was always for it. He was always just like, you know, when somebody says, I'll be at the show, he says, you know, come by the side of the stage to say hi. And then he goes out there, and it's such a refreshing look at the kind of rock and roll thing in the rock star world where I was in that world 25 years ago in Toronto, and there was way too many rock stars, with air quotes, which is like they had the attitude before they had the accomplishments. And Sean has the accomplishments, but he still doesn't have the attitude. And so, my man, drop Sean a line, say hey, say hi, and yeah, well, it's absolutely my pleasure. And yeah, so today we're going to keep talking about books. So last week, and there's Andrew saying, love some Smash Mouth. Who doesn't love Smash Mouth? Exactly. So we're going to talk about the books again today, the book industry. Last week, we had the absolute pleasure of Allison joining me down here, talk about writing. So if you missed that, go check it out from last week. I could just listen to her talk all day. And she is the writer out of the two of us, and it's our relationship is mythical almost, that I have the ability to and the opportunity to have not only a business partner but be married to somebody who can write so well. And hey babe, I'm just on live talking about you, so it's the LinkedIn audience.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
LinkedIn audience.
Allison just came downstairs and said,
Enjoy.
thank you.
Love
I love you too, babe. She's the best. So last week she talked about a lot about the writing process and how the kind of the writing a book could be extremely daunting, and she broke it down in that process. So if you haven't watched that one, I highly recommend listening to that one. There you go. Wes says, yay, T-Dot and music, Miss Lee's Palace and the Horseshoe, better days ahead. Wes, let me tell you, I'm going to digress like I usually do, always. And the name of Unmarketing, the book, could have been titled, Everything I Learned About Business, I Learned from Lee's Palace. Really. Honestly, that was the best education in business I could have had, which was trying to get bands booked into clubs in Toronto. So it was like you said, Lee's Palace and the Horseshoe and the Rivoli and El Macombo and Opera House. It is all those type of ones. And I learned so much from Craig Morrison, who I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he was the booker at Lee's Palace. And I sat down with him, and I think I was 19 or 20 years old, and he sat me down and handed me a one sheet, just one piece of paper with advice about playing the club and the bands and how it works. And he sat me down in his office at Lee's. You have Lee's Palace and you have the Dance Cave, and very famous venue in Toronto. And he sat me down and he took the time and just said, this is how it works. It was an MBA given to me in an hour from him. And it was an amazing, amazing lesson. He sat me down and he looked at me and he says, one of the biggest mistakes bands make is you think that Lee's Palace is in the music business. We are not. We are in the beer business. End of story. And he said to me, and I quote, now I'm paraphrasing, it's been so long, but I quote as much as I can. He says, if you are the worst thrash polka band on earth and you bring out 100 drinkers on a Wednesday night, you're coming back and you're going to play a Friday night. If you are the second coming of Rush and you bring 3 people who drink water, you won't be coming back. It was wonderful. It was eye-opening, and it was so blunt that it made me my brain just went, understand the business people are in. That's it. And I learned it. And the funny thing, I have a quick story about the Horseshoe. I actually have all the stuff right here. I have all of the ticket stubs. I have them from Lee's Palace right there on the shelf there, and a spreadsheet of all the a Lotus 123, I think, spreadsheet of all the contact info for Southern Ontario's clubs and venues that the band could potentially play. And the Horseshoe, so I got the Canadian Music Guide, which was a spiral bound thing back in 98, and I just went through it and would call these clubs, and I would call the Horseshoe every week. The Horseshoe Tavern is one of the legendary venues along with Lee's Palace, but the Horseshoe, I'd say, is probably one of the top ones, and correct me if I'm wrong, people in the Toronto area watching, but it's like the club. And I'd call every week. And the guy finally said, look, man, you don't have to call me to tell me when the band got a new pair of underwear, okay? And I'm like, all right. Okay, I learned so much from managing bands. I only managed a couple, but I learned so much about relationships. I've learned so much about ego, including my own, and got burned a few times really badly of my own fault, and put myself in check very quickly in that world. And that was the best lessons I possibly could have had. The book would have been called, this book could have been called, Everything I Learned About Business, I Learned from Lee's Palace. Yeah, little blast from the past there, Ian, right? The Lotus 123. Don's got the Commodore in Vancouver saying, Jeanette says, will you create a publishing marketing company for other authors? I will not. No, we will not do that at all. It is such a hard industry. It is a thankless industry. It is a very difficult industry, and there's a lot of good people in it, and there's a lot of not so good people in it. But I wouldn't create a company like that when there's already ones that exist that do a way better job. So if you're like one of the companies like Page 2 in Vancouver in Canada solves a real problem in publishing, which is if you don't want to use the traditional publishing house, but you want the expertise of one, you go to them. So I wouldn't create one. We wouldn't create one because Page Two already does that, and they're phenomenal, and we love them, and they own our hearts and our love because they're just run by some really, really great people with Jess and Trina at the helm there. Love it. Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate that. So let's get into more about the books, and you can feel free to ask questions as we go. The reason why I'm doing these on Wednesdays on lives, I was waiting for you, Abhishek. Thank you. What are you, 10 minutes late to the party? What's going over there in Kathmandu? Come on, man. One of the things I thought about today, because I hadn't scheduled this live, and I'd done them, every time we do it every week, but I also don't want to be forced to do it. It has to work for us as well. And I thought today, I'm like, Abhishek's going to show up. He's going to stay up to watch it, and then I'm not going to be there, and I can't let you down. So you're one of the main motivations for me coming on today. So seriously, man, I'm going to get over there one day. I'm going to get over there somehow, and we're going to hang out. That's what's going to happen. I promise you. So there's this world of, what's up, Fred? Good to see you. I've known Fred for a very long time. Fred, also a great, great guy, is just so helpful in everything he does. And there's no other way. I dig him. So what's up, Fred? Good to see you. What's up, Rick? Good to see you as well. It's New Year's in Nepal. What are you doing on here on New Year's? I'm not worth it. You're worth it. I'm not worth it. But Happy New Year as well for you. Hey, Paula, good to see you as well. Best part of Hump Day. Yeah, I've been out of an office so long. I haven't even heard that term. Like, I haven't been in an office in 20 years. And so I get to avoid all those things. And but I do thank you for being part of the best part of Hump Day. So I'm going to hop into the slides here, and we're going to talk a little publishing industry some more. Again, any questions you got, please feel free to jump in with them. Thank you, Joy. Have to carry your bags on a trip to Nepal, Scott. I'm going to keep talking about some of the people come on here, and if I'm not talking about you when you come on here, I apologize. I'm talking about people I've known for a very long time, and so it's not that I don't recommend you or want to, but I haven't known you long enough or well enough to do that. Joey is another fantastic human. He wrote a book, Never Lose a Customer Again. I think it has again at the end. Joey, please let me know if I'm wrong. It is a phenomenal read, and he's a phenomenal human. He's one of the people I'd love to hang out with any chance I get. So Joey is, I was about to say the bee's knees, but I'm not 80. So, but I think I will need you to carry my bags or something there, Joey. Thank you. It's New Year's Day. Oh, glad it wasn't on the evening, but need to get a book done this year. Oh, there you go. Okay, so it was going in last night, New Year's Eve. Okay, I get it. Okay, we're good. You're fine to be on here. And Ron says, how do you and others sell your books? Great question. I'll get to that today. Jeanette says, I'll carry your water bottle or something. That's great. Perfect. And Abhishek says, oh, both of us. Awesome. We'll make our way over there. So let's talk about books, and let's get into this world of books again. So this is our family of books here. And so we have we have the Untrilogy up top here, and then we have the Book of Business Awesome and Unawesome, which is a flip book. Which I got right here. So it's like the good side is the Book of Business Awesome, how engaging your customers and employees can make your business thrive. And then there's a little ladybug walking around, and then you flip it, and it's the Book of Business Unawesome, the cost of not listening, engaging, or being great at what you do, and the ladybug is squished. And literally it reads one way halfway through, and then you flip it, and you have to read it the other way for the good story. So good stories one way, bad stories the other. This was actually the second book. But that's how we wanted to do this one, and we just wanted to be also creative. It's part of our brand as well. It's us. I keep saying it's part of our brand. It's just us, which turns in it is our brand. And so we have the Untrilogy. Always wanted to have the Untrilogy, and then we have the Business Awesome and Unawesome, and then we have the two kind of fun books, QR Code Skill Kittens and A Jackass Whisperer. So the first 5 on the list there we did with Wiley and Sons out of Newark, New Jersey. And then Jackass Whisperer was done with a hybrid publisher, which is Page 2 out of Vancouver. I also like this here. Paula says to Joey, who's in the live, I have your book on my nightstand, literally really good stuff. Seconded. Wes says, I have a book in me, can't seem to get it out. I write blogs, guides all the time, and that's a great point, Wes. A lot of people have that, which is like, I know there's a book in there somewhere, but there's a few things that get in the way. Sometimes it can be obviously intimidation or overwhelming. Like if you're going to write a book that's like 60,000 words, which was the general length of the 4, not Jackass and Kittens, but the 4 was about 60,000, and that seems really overwhelming and daunting. So if you didn't watch last week's live, again, I really, really highly recommend it. Allison talks about her writing process and how she does it and how she breaks it all down. But there's also imposter syndrome that happens a lot. A lot of people I talk to about who are looking to get into a book or want to. One of the things we're working on with the Unmarketing Academy is kind of the personal branding side of stuff, which is the individuals that want to raise kind of their platform up, and that leads to books, speaking, podcasting, all that stuff. You know that thought leadership, expert type of stuff. So that's one of the things we're working on. And talking with people, one of the biggest parts is that imposter syndrome. It's either imposter syndrome when it comes to, well, I don't think I should write a book. I'm not ready yet, or it's a thing of saying there's so many books out there, so why? I don't want to add to the pile, which is malarkey, to use another old school phrase. There's millions of books out there, but yours isn't. And that's really the point, that there's no new words. There's no new words that were written in any of these. These are all words that were already invented. It's just how you arrange them. It is. It comes down to that. And when you look at this stuff, so here's with Unmarketing itself and where we're at with it. So we had the original hardcover come out, and then we had the paperback. So a lot of the times in traditional publishing, when a book does well, a book is done well when it was in hardcover, then it comes out on paperback. So that's what happened with us. We then had the revised, updated paperback, and then we did a second edition, which is the one you see on top there, which is the one that we revamped the whole thing. One of the problems about writing a book that has a lot to do with digital and technology and social media is it becomes dated very quickly. And so although we both love and appreciate every time we see somebody share on social media that they're reading our book, I cringe when it's an older version because I know there's a better version out there. So what we end up doing is usually saying, hey, thanks so much. We're really glad you're enjoying it. Can we send you an updated version? We don't tell them to go out and buy it. I think that's rude. Like, haha, the book you either finished or you're halfway through, or whatever it is. Go purchase another one because we've updated it. It's not something we do. I would just rather say, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Because I just don't think an opportunity to sell is when they're excited and sharing your stuff. I just don't think that's a window. I think it's a window to surprise and delight somebody and say, hey, glad you liked it. Hey, if you ever want to kind of dive back into it, let us send you the newer version of it, which I think is really, really important. Chris says, Scott, did you ever have the feeling that since your first book or certain book did well, now you add this pressure to yourself for the next one? That's what I'm dealing with right now. Great question, Chris. I want to add this here for a second. This is a phenomenal question. And the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Unmarketing did great out of the gate. It was like anything in business. We kind of boil it down to any success is a combination of luck, timing, skill, and effort. Right? You can only control one or two of these things, really. And so Unmarketing, it did really well. It sold well out of the gate. It didn't hit New York Times, but it hit the Global Mail list up here in Canada. And that wasn't the main focus. It was to create momentum and create a movement. And it sold really, really well. It sold, in the first year, it sold certainly tens of thousands of copies. And that's amazing. And then you get the second deal for it, but now the pressure is on. And because the retailers have then ordered more because of the performance of the first book. And so the publisher is expecting more. And I've always hated that pressure. I don't like feeling pressure to sell. I'm not my best when I'm feeling that pressure. I feel guilty. Guilt is a really bad driver for me. I don't like letting people down is a huge crux for me. I'm learning that more and more. Therapy's a wonderful thing, by the way, if anybody wants to go do it. But letting people down. And part of that for me is like when I take an advance from a publisher, then that is for me, an expectation to reach that level. And we can get into the mechanics of it and the spreadsheets and how if you don't earn out your advance, the publisher can still make money. But the point is we made a deal. This is just for me. Okay, this is just my own thinking. This is not industry. This is not what you should do. I'm just giving it for you for this with the question with what Chris was asking, which is like when I take the advance, I want to earn it out. And I want to earn it out in that year. And so we got a $15,000 advance for the original Unmarketing. And then pretty much Wiley, Shannon at Wiley, who's still our editor now and still a wonderful human, just says, how much do you want for the second one? And I said, double it. So we got 30. And then I felt a huge, huge amount of pressure to move them. Not by the publisher, not by Shannon, not by our team, with Matt or Pete or who both have moved to different companies now who we still adore. It was never the pressure from them. It was self-imposed pressure for that. And the second book didn't do as well as the first book. And then what do you do now? And that was the thing. We had to stop kind of chasing numbers. So one of the ways I solved that was after book 2, we stopped taking an advance. So we haven't got an advance for the 3 books afterwards. And I admit might not be the smartest move financially. I know a lot of people who were at like Wiley or other ones got big offers and big advances from other publishing houses and went and did it. I don't want that pressure. I don't want a 6-figure advance because then you better do those sales. I want to sell this more naturally for us because it also fits with our brand. We are not in your face type of people. We are not buy or goodbye type of people. And it had to match with this. So Chris, once we took away that advance part of it, it certainly felt a lot less pressure of doing that. And we get royalty checks. We've earned out those first 2 advances, and we get a royalty check every 6 months in October and in April for this, which is wonderful. It's just the way we do business. And I just didn't want to grab the advance money with the pressure of it as well. So it was there for sure, Chris. And there's not a lot of ways around it necessarily. But I have felt it. So great question. Abhishek says, does the language of the book really matter? Well, really, when it comes down to it, right? It matters on what audience you're going for. As you see here, these are just some of the translations of Unmarketing. And the funny thing about translations, like, both with going with hybrid or I self-published years ago. I'll get into that in a minute. But with translations, you don't really know when your book's been translated. That's the weird thing. I was not ready for this part of the publishing industry because a lot of times with international rights, and it's one of the advantages of going with a traditional publisher because of they have international reach that way, is that I would be on Instagram and somebody would pull up a copy of another version of our book. Here, actually, it's on the next slide here. So and these versions of the books, we didn't even know they were out. We had no idea because what happens internationally is the publishers internationally in different countries kind of do a land grab with titles. At least that's how it was explained to us, which is they'll buy the international rights for their country and they'll blanket it for a bunch. So the other publisher or the other publishers don't get the rights. And then after they buy the rights, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to publish it. So they buy the rights to a bunch and they publish some. And so a lot of these books, both ourselves and Wiley, we're caught by surprise. You're like, oh, well, I guess it's out there now. And then you try to arrange. And sometimes the international publisher sends copies to Wiley and sometimes they don't. So it's kind of a toss-up with that. But it is one of the coolest things to see not only your book on a shelf or your book being read out in the wild, but having it translated. I still don't get over it. 6 books. I still haven't got over that. But it's one of the coolest things in the world. I'm being able to, if you publish a book and it gets out there, it's just, there's so many cool things that can happen with it. It's just never expected this type of stuff. Abhishek says, we actually got a book deal yesterday, but these guys are telling me to write it in Nepali. It's confusing now. Oh, well, well, that's the thing. So the book deal is based on the language usually. And if you can write it in a couple languages, that also might work as well, but it's also hard to do it that way. Wes says, subscribe to your YouTube channel. Heading out 60K words to get out. Thanks as always. Of course, Wes. Just don't try to write 60,000 at one time. It's not going to happen. And if you can, again, watch last week's because Allison had some great words about it as well. So this is the coolest stuff. Like I don't know what you've heard from other people, but signing books, seeing your book in a store, seeing somebody read it in social and post it, that never gets old. It's the coolest thing in the world. And I had one friend, author, who was like, oh, I got to go sign books. Like it was putting them off. And I'm like, it's a privilege to be able to have people want you to sign something. It's a privilege to be able to publish something and then have somebody want you to sign it. It's so nice and so wonderful. One of my favorite parts of being on the road back in the day was the book signings. You know, I live for this stage. I live for keynotes. I really believe that's what I was meant to do. But nothing beats at a book signing table and somebody comes up to you and they're smiling and they're saying, I loved this book, or I just and I just get to look them in the eye and just absorb that joy. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's never gotten old. So we go into the world of publishing, and really there's three routes you can take. You have the traditional route. I mentioned those 5 books for us. You have hybrid, which is what we did with Jackass Whisperer, and we did self-publish, which is a book I never actually put out, but it was listed with an ISBN, which is, thank goodness it's Monday. Before Unmarketing really took off, my original company, my original thought of stuff was Work Your Life, which was a work-life balance of kind of motivation with sarcasm as well, though, about that, you know, only enjoying 2 days a week out of 7 is not a smart move. I still believe it. I still buy into it. And that stuff is working its way back into kind of the business stuff, which I really enjoy because it's about people and it's about humanity. And I like people and I want humanity to stick around. So there's different reasons and choices for going into these ones, but you got to decide which ones are for you. So before you decide on a methodology, on a way of doing something, you have to decide why. Why do you want a book? And there's multiple reasons of why you want a book. One can be you just want a book with your name on it. I'm not being sarcastic here. You have a book in you. Like Wes was saying earlier on here, you have a book in you, you know it's there, and you want to get it out. Maybe it's a personal book. Maybe it is a strategy book. Maybe it's business. Maybe it's fiction. Whatever that is, you have every damn right to make and write a book. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And with the tools today, you can just publish that if you want on Amazon through one of their programs and have it up and done tonight. Like, it can be done that way. The barrier to entry is so much lower now. Now, with that in mind, you don't want it to look like you just threw it up there today. But it's real simple when it comes to the logistics of it compared to 10 years ago. So the question really is with all of this is depending on your needs. So let's look at, I'm going to focus on business books. I'm going to focus on kind of if you want a business book that will help generate you your own more business for you, position you, because on marketing, right? Positioning yourself as a recognized expert is in the middle of our hierarchy of buying. And a book really helps that. So if you look at us, I'm going to use us as an example and myself as an example originally, was that I knew, so I picked the name Unmarketing for the company. And one of the reasons I picked it is I thought it would look great on a book cover. My job is hooks and curiosity driving. And that's what marketing part is driving interest or curiosity. And I just thought Unmarketing was a really great hook to it. It really resonated with me. And I thought it would really stand out on a book cover. I think it does. And this is actually the cover I envisioned then. I always thought of a brown paper bag with a stamp on it, and then with marketing underneath. So, yay. We got that. But the reason, so the why of all of this was pretty basic. It was to get me on stage. So that was the research we did for all of this, which was to get me on stage. You know, there's no... I have a logo in front of my head now. Hang on a second. Why is PowerPoint opening? I don't know why my computer has PowerPoint opening now. This is so weird. It's okay. No worries. Away with you, PowerPoint. I didn't mean to open you. I meant to open Restream Chat. And now it's opening PowerPoint again. This is what you get with a live. It's technical difficulties. So please hold. Please hold as I try to find what I was looking for. There it is. Okay. Sorry. I'm just working on the chat and getting the chat in here and making sure it all works okay. Anywho, so when it comes down to kind of all these type of things, that my goal here with books was very simple, was that I knew, because I had done the work beforehand and I was on committees that book speakers to speak at events, and so I wanted to see the other side of it, always taking it from the kind of the customer side of things. And I knew one of the main driving reasons that people booked speakers was that they had a book out. It's a real simple process for me that they would book. And so if I didn't have the credibility yet, if I didn't have the status in the industry yet, the book helps kickstart that. And if the book is through a well-known publisher, then it proves that they kind of took the risk on the book itself. And it was one of the reasons why we went with Wiley. Wiley was actually our goal publisher originally, and they came to us. And I never pitched a book. We don't pitch things. That's kind of the entire point of unmarketing, is to have what you want coming to you and attracting the business by positioning. And so the goal of the book was then to get speaking gigs, but we also used the book to drive speaking as well. I'll show you here through the Unbooked tour. Now the Unbooked tour was driven straight through Twitter. So this was a very, very, planned, purposeful thing we did. And it was back, I signed the book deal, and I got the book deal because of the noise I'd make on Twitter. I was on Twitter in 08 and 09 and kind of was loud and got ranked really high, and you make noise. You make enough noise, eventually the people will start coming to your door. I don't mean just shouting all the time, but if you did it enough and you made enough noise and you made enough sense and built a following, because a publisher, what they're looking at, a traditional publisher, is how many books you're going to move. It's like the music business. It's about how many streams you're going to get or how many album sales you're going to get. It's not necessarily about the content itself. That's why the most important part of a book proposal is the sales and marketing section of it. It's how big is your list? Do you have a track record? Do you have a proof of concept in there? And the proof of concept of Unmarketing was the Unbooked tour. So with the Unbooked tour, I sent a tweet out and said, who wants to stop on the Unbooked tour? You order 100 books at once at a certain week I defined for you. You fly me there and you put me up. And 30 cities ended up doing it. And it was glorious, and I swear it nearly killed me. And the travel was nuts, and it was the best thing ever. And what happened, the best thing about this was I was our community. We have authenticity, integrity, and community. Well, it was the community that raised their hand and said, we would like a stop on the Unbooked tour. And we called it the Unbooked tour for two reasons. One, because it had un in it, and that's our brand. But two, I didn't want to do the traditional book tour and go to bookstores. And I have nothing against bookstores. I love bookstores and independent bookstores. But the issue is that a lot of authors would go and just do a signing in a town, and nobody would be there, or nobody would know that. And they weren't usually conducive to doing a talk. So I wanted to do talks in venues so I was going to do a speaking tour to support the book. So about half of the stops on the Unbooked tour were associations and organizations. So it was like the two big ones were American Marketing Association chapters and Social Media Club chapters. The first tour stop, which is in the bottom right here, was Dallas. And a great crew there. And the other half was individuals who wanted the tour stop in their city or in their town. And half of those people had never put on an event in their life, but they wanted the tour stop. That's how committed they were to it. It was so mind-blowing. It was so wonderful that people would do this and risk it. They would put it like on their credit card and buy all the books and then sell tickets for like $35, and you got a copy of the book, and I'd sign them and I'd do a talk. So you'd get learning at the event. So the event was sold as a talk, and if you came and bought a ticket, you got the new book. versus the events is about the book. Well, if you don't know me or you don't know me yet, the talk is more exciting than a book signing. Because at a book signing, I'm just going to sign them and say hello and stuff. But if you don't know me as an author, or anybody wouldn't go to usually a book signing, they didn't know the author, but they'd go to a talk. They go do a talk about social media and disruption and that type of stuff. And I stayed within my community. Now, one of the problems with that a lot of times is if you don't usually get paid to speak in your bubble, in your industry. That's one of the rules kind of speaking. It's not always true, but it usually means if you're in the industry, you're usually not going to get paid to speak to that industry. And I knew that. But I wanted to get my reps. I wanted to get the momentum. And everybody at these events were working at other companies and part of other associations. So I did 30 talks in 10 weeks for no money, for no pay, but they moved the books. We're not making money on those really either much. We're still paying back the advance, and you make 10% really of the net that's going to the publisher. But the point was, and why I wanted to go with them, is they do all the work part and the distribution, the logistics and the sales into the stores, and all those things happen. And the goal was just to make sure that these events could get the books to them when they ordered them. And we used 1-800-CEO read for the bulk sales in the States, and one of the Barnes & Nobles in New York. CEO read is now called Porchlight Books, I believe, which is awesome. Also, I don't know if the chat is still working. So if you've sent a message in the past little while, nothing has come in. So I apologize if it's not working right now, and I'm not ignoring you. Or just nobody's here right now, and I'm talking to myself, which is also fine, because the main reason I'm doing these, other than to hopefully give a couple tips to you fine people, is working on this content, because we're going to be using this content for the Unmarketing Academy. So the top left photo there is in Nashville. That's my friend John Morgan there, who set this one up. And, oh, good. It's working. Good. It's working. Good. I just wasn't saying anything interesting enough for anybody to say anything. Awesome. So it's a good way to get people to say stuff. Hey, Mark, what's up? And hello, Tim. And check. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, good. So I'll keep talking. 2 weeks ago, the chat stopped, and it just didn't work anymore. And I just thought I was all alone, and I just kept talking. And I came back afterwards to the recording. There was like 25 comments. So I really don't try to ignore you. So this is, and the second picture in the top in the middle there, that's in Milwaukee, obviously. And there's the brewery with the Schlitz sign, and they see the Stein beside me there. This is it. This is the one from the picture. It's so fun. The whole tour is fun. On the right of that is me in a car dealership in Edmonton. Where I believe the person or their spouse worked at the car dealership who booked the event and said we can use the space, and it was great. It was actually worked out to be a great space. Bottom left is me, I believe, in Buffalo, New York, in a classroom. That was the venue they got to use. The middle one there is at the bottom is Detroit Public Library. What a gorgeous spot. We got thrown out because we went too late. Love my Detroit people. Love my Detroit crew. Go Lions. And then the bottom right, like I said, is Dallas there. And that's the Dallas Social Media Club. Such a great people, and it was so much fun. And it really started momentum. But the point, and no, it's not from my college class. The point of all this, again, wasn't to sell books. It was, but it wasn't. It was to give my speaking momentum. Because the number one reason people book you to speak is because they saw you speak. Number one. Number two is somebody they know and trust saw you speak, and they said, you have to book this person. Reason number three is you have a new book out. Reason 3 through 103 don't even come close to the power of the first two. If you want to get gigs, you got to do gigs. And that's the great catch-22. So I gave it a reason. And I did 30 talks in 10 weeks. And this is totally honest. This is totally honest here. I didn't stop speaking. That momentum didn't end until the pandemic. I spoke for 10 years based off this momentum. Yeah, a lot of stuff happened, of course, and I had to change the talk and do this and create more books and stuff, but this is what started everything with the momentum. 30-city tour, unpaid. I'll do one of these about the speaking business one of these days, but that was the point. So it's back to your why. Why would you do this? Why would you want to put the book out? And if the reason is you just want to have a book, then go do it. Go do it. You don't need permission. Just go do it. You can. If you want to help people, affect people, touch people's lives, great, go do it. But there's different issues with that. You have traditional where you weigh it out. Traditional, you hand away most of the rights to everything. They own the book and 90% of the royalties, give or take. And then they own it, right? This is not our property. This is Wiley's property. I can't take this as a PDF and just give it to people. It's their book. And we know that. That's the deal we made. We were happy with it. We still love Wiley. We still love the whole crew there. They took a chance on us. And we're very loyal people, and they took a chance on us. And I don't understand a lot of times when a publisher takes a chance on you, they use all their resources, it works, and then you jump ship. I don't always understand that, but it's I shouldn't judge. I apologize. But this world, so they take the rights to it and most of the royalties, but they also take the risk. And that's the thing. They take the risk. They print the 5, 10, 20,000 copies. They use all their people, their salaried staff to do these things. These things cost money. And they will take the risk. And I am fine with giving the majority of the revenue to the player in the group that took the majority of the risk. What I don't agree with, which is what some traditional publishers do, including Wiley, is they have these hybrid kind of deals, which is like, okay, yep, sign up with us. No advance, none of this. We keep all the rights and the royalties and 90-10 split, but you have to guarantee 2,000 units moved or 3,000 or 5,000. So it's a pay to publish type of thing. And I got no problem with paying to publish, which I'll talk about in hybrid in a second. But you don't get all my royalties then. You don't get 90-10. If I'm going to guarantee you're going to recoup costs and everything else, we're not doing 90-10. Right? And that's right, Sean, too. And Sean knows it's like the music industry. Somebody comes and signs me to a record deal, and you're going to put up the time and the studio time and production and all that stuff, and fine, you're going to keep the majority of the money. But if a label says you have to guarantee 5,000 copies being moved, which means literally you have to buy them and then resell them, and I don't own the rights, Nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Why? Because then you have hybrid instead. That's where I would go. And that's why we bring up a company like Page 2 out of Vancouver. And there's other ones as well that are really great that could do it. It was called Book in a Box, Tucker Max's company. I can't remember what it's called now. Rohit has got is it Idea Press? I can't remember the name of it again. And exactly, Sean, pay to play. Yeah, exactly. It's like the old battle of the bands, right? And the more tickets you sell, the later in the night you go on, and the only place that makes money is the club. But you win studio time. You win a half an hour studio time. Yay! I can record a cowbell in that time, I think. I don't even know. But when you look at this stuff, when you go to something like Page 2, thank you, Joy. Book in the Box is now called Scribe. But this is where can you get the help, and also because look, a traditional publisher they sign a fraction of the books that get pitched to them, and a lot of times they don't sign those, right? They don't sign the pitched ones. They go find the ones that haven't been done yet and gone out there. And thank you. It is Idea Press. Thank you. And so what happens is the problem with the traditional is you have to kind of plead your case unless they come to you. I still remember the phone call from Shannon at Wiley when they called to say, hey, you don't want to write a book. And Eric, yeah, going back, music industry, Battle of the Bands is always rigged. Yeah, still bitter. Yeah, you and me both. Damn it. It's only whoever sold the most tickets usually wins. Anyway, so with something like Page 2, you keep all the rights, you keep almost all the royalties, but you have to pay them to do it. So it's a service-based company, but they have all the people, they have all the experienced publishing people there. But you got to pay the printing. So with Jackass Whisperer, we had to pay the fee. So, the fee is, around $25,000 to use the company, but then you also have to pay for the printing. And then the printing for us was another $20,000. I think we printed 10,000 copies of it, but it's like $2 a copy. But then we also have the PDF, the ebook, and the audio book we recorded ourselves as well. But then we own all that. So we can do anything we want with it. If I want to give you all a copy of the Jackass Whisperer ebook right now, I could give it to you. I just give you the Dropbox link. Audio as well. It's ours to do what we please with it. Plus, if I wanted to use those books for a talk, and a lot of times with speaking, a lot of times they'll bundle books in. They're like, well, they want to reduce your speaking fee, but they'll buy books. And I'm like, well, that's great, but in traditional publishing, those books don't help my pocket. So if you reduce my take-home pay for a gig to increase books, I do want books there, and I love the books being there, and people read them, and I want them to read them, but you're reducing my pay. The best way is a full fee gig plus books, but I don't want to reduce that fee to add books on, which I'm not making that revenue from. But with like Jackass Whisperer, it costs us $2 a copy. So if we reduce that to $10, we net $8 per piece outside of the shipping of the books to get them there necessarily. But you can also add that into the cost of the books to the client. And then you can make a good chunk of money. You have 2,000 people at an event, with $8 a copy profit, that's 16 grand in there. So there's different pluses and minuses with it. One of the problems with self-publishing, just straight doing it yourself, uploading it directly with no help, is you have to do everything. Everything. Typesetting, editing, indexing, writing, design, cover, registration, although Amazon does help with that. And so it all depends on it. And where you want to go with it, and how much work and how much skill you have, and where your hurdles are. Where's the roadblocks for publishing for you? So if you don't have the capital necessarily to go hybrid, then you either go traditional or self. And a lot of times it's a money issue. It's a capital issue for these type of things. And that's where we look at it and say, okay, so then what do we want to do with it afterwards? And where is it going to go with that? And will it get on store bookshelves? So a lot of times with self-publishing, it won't go on store bookshelves. And you can debate with people how valuable a store bookshelf is. Nothing. It's just such a wonderful feeling seeing your book on a bookshelf in a bookstore. It's so cool. And it sticks it to my grade 11 English teacher. But it's where the books move the most on store shelves is like a Hudson Books. It's an airport bookstore, but a lot of those are paid placement for that. But again, we've done it multiple times with books. Why? Because it's the average reader of the books there who is usually in business and an executive. It's worth it to us, and we broke even each time pretty much when we actually paid for that. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. All right, so like with promotion with books, so how do we move books and how do we sell them, which was an earlier question. Well, a lot of the stuff we do is kind of like anything. You have that whole launch week and the build up to it, but one of the problems is like you have to start planning for a book before you start writing it when it comes to the marketing of it. Like when you finish writing the book and you're going to publish it, it's not the time to think about marketing the book. That has to start way before. And if you don't have a platform, if you don't have a following, if you don't have a community, it's exponentially harder to get noticed. And that's why when we're working on the course for the Unmarketing Academy, the first thing is looking about your social currency, your platform building, your networking, your community building. Because everything else is so much harder. Launching a podcast, selling a book, speaking at some events, it's all exponentially harder if you haven't built up a community. I would say an audience, but it's more of a community as well, that way we do it. So a few things we've done to help promote and kind of give people a reason to buy now instead of putting it off and adding it to their wish list or something is offer buying incentives. So this is one of the things we did. We did some series of posters. So Jackass Whispers was a phrase before we put it into a book. And we offered these as actually we printed posters. So we did small posters for people. And then we also printed giant I'm not the jackass, ignore the haters, you're not the jackass whisperer posters. And we signed them and we offered incentives. You know, you buy 5 books, you get this. You buy 10 books, you get this. One of those things. And it does because it's very important if you're looking to hit lists to concentrate your sales on a certain week of time. And usually that's a week or two before launch date because then it pushes all the orders through when it launches. That's got messed up for us 6 out of 6 times. It's going to happen and it's going to hit the fan. I promise you, if you end up publishing a book, something will go wrong drastically. It just happens. There's so many people involved. There's so many angles involved. And Amazon just is like, F you. And they just change it. They change so many times. We've pushed a huge amount of pre-orders through Amazon. And then like 2 days before the drop date or 3 days, Amazon emailed everybody who pre-ordered and said, the book has been delayed. Click here, 1 click to cancel your order. The book was not delayed. I'm sorry, the books, because this has happened multiple times to us. It was not delayed. It was actually in their warehouse. And then Amazon goes and decides to release it 2 days early or a week early because they want to be the first to have it drop. And then it screws up other pre-order campaigns you had. So it's always going to go wrong. So don't worry. If it goes wrong, I feel you. There's a lot of pressure for it. You get to launch it once. You have a street date once for a book. So that's really hard. So it said when we did creative promotions, we wanted to have fun. And we wanted to make it fun. So we do posters like this or stickers. I have stickers here. Yeah. So when QR Codes Kill Kittens came out, we made the QR Codes Kill Kittens sticker. And we'd send it out. People love stickers. They always love stickers. It's just one of those things. And then when we had kittens come out, we did a whole photo shoot for it. So I wanted to do a shot for the author photo on the back of the book. That is not our kitten, by the way. That is the photographer's kitten. And we're sitting on somebody's stoop. I don't know whose stoop that is in Hamilton, but that is in Hamilton, Ontario. And then we did the band Candy Crush Invites. But that was the photo we did. And it was just for fun and for, PR type of stuff. But you notice on there, we didn't add any branding to it. And that picture ended up going viral, a lot. Right? Here's one of the things is 82,000 likes on the Fat Jewish account who's notorious for just stealing content and have credit. There's no tag there. I wasn't tagged, by the way. Somebody else sent that to me. But it goes viral all the time. And really, the best part about this is if when you go viral on the internet, the wonderful repayment to you is you get called fat, lame tattoos, and of course he's wearing a shirt that says skeptic. And yep, that's on me. I shouldn't have worn that shirt. But anyways, it was a photo shoot. We had to bring multiple outfits. But that's really it. So this goes viral once a year usually, but it was just about fun. And at the end of the day, this is so laborious. It's so raw, and you're so vulnerable when you've written a book and you're going to, before you put it out, and then when it gets out, it is so raw. It's hard. You've got to have some fun. You've got to enjoy part of this process somehow. I know I joke is that when your book is ready to be published is when you hate it. But the point is you got to enjoy some of this. You got to enjoy the journey. You got to do something that is fun for you, that can work for you. So we did that with kittens, and we did that with Jackass Whisperer as well. We just had fun with it. We had these donkeys. We went to Alibaba and got quoted 500 donkeys, and 5,000 would have been a lot cheaper per piece. But if you go look at our garage right now, you see why we didn't order 5,000 donkeys. But we made socks and stickers and the book, and we just had a blast with it. This whole basement down here was just a donkey refuge. It was just all stuffed donkeys and boxes, and we were sending it out. Here's Jack right here. This is Jack, And then on the back here, that's the Jackass Whisperer logo. It's embroidered on it, and his name's on there. And then we had a pouch added to it, so we could put the book in there, and the I'm Not the Jackass Whisperer socks, and then we throw stickers in there. And so we had this here, and Tim, a longtime supporter of all of our stuff, always gets asked about the donkey in my background. Exactly. And Sean is out of here. Good seeing you. Thank you for popping into this, my friend. Hopefully see you next week. And this was part of the promotion. And we made a squeeze page for him, and we put it out there. And yeah, we still have a bunch of donkeys. But it was so much fun to do it. And then, people would give it to their kids or, their pets. And it was nice seeing Jack in the wild. And it really was fun. It was one of the most fun we had kind of creating a book because it was just for fun. There was really no business drive for it. I didn't really have a Jackass Whisperer talk. It was just we wanted to make a fun... Let me be as transparent as possible here. As Joey adds, I would still wear my Jackass Whisperer socks all the time and get asked about them too. Awesome. You really want to know the main reason we wrote Jackass Whisperer, that we created a book, Jackass Whisperer, was also to work with Page 2. We loved them so much that we wanted to pick kind of a non-business book to do with them as well. With Wiley, we do our business books, and we'll continue to do business books with them. We love them. But we wanted to do a fun personal development humor book that worked perfectly. The Jackass Whisperer, phrase was going around the world, and everybody, people loved it. And we're like, we have something here, and we want to do it for fun, and we did. And it was fun. I don't know what else we can say to people. It was just we had fun. They were everything we hoped they'd be at Page 2. We had a blast with them because they really do give a damn about the books, and their heart is in every one of them. So that's the best compliment I can give a hybrid publisher out there. We literally created a book to work with them. Love them. Love them, love them, love them. Let's move on here. So and we did a squeeze page. It's still up. If you go to jackasswhisperer.com, you can see it. But this is like the promo. It was buy one copy, then you immediately got the ebook download as well while you're waiting for the printed copy version of it. Since ebooks were invented, I always wanted to be able to do kind of the super book, which was if you ordered the book itself, you also got the digital e-reader version and an audio version. But you can't really do that when a traditional publisher. Like the way that WhisperSync, I think it is with Amazon, you can pick it up on your Kindle and then keep continuing on Audible because Audible is owned by Amazon now. But it was about, you pay one thing, you can have it any way you want. And so we kind of did that with this. You bought 2 copies, you got the socks, bought 5, you got Jack, and then bought 10, we'd give you a video shout out you could give to clients or anything else. And it was a blast. It was so much fun. We sent out a lot of donkeys, a lot of socks, a lot of stickers. It was a hoot. We just had a blast with it. And we don't regret it. One of the other things we have with this is testimonials. And we've never had a true testimonial for any of our 6 books. We've never put a true testimonial on any of them. Because a lot of times they're full of crap. But also we don't want to kind of beg our friends for them. And look, when somebody knows us and they're friends with us and we know them well, I'm happy to look at their book and potentially give them a testimonial, except my pile of books is now 15 deep of friends ones I haven't read. And I really don't want to give testimonials for books I haven't read, even though it happens all the time. And so we made a joke about it. It just played with our personality. This is our authentic self. This is our brand. And then we did something. We did this page as well. I forgot to show this to you. I'll get back to that in a second. Let me show you a video. This is what we thought about book testimonials, that we went on Fiverr. And we showed this last week, but if you haven't seen it, we went on Fiverr and we wrote a script for testimonials because this is what some authors do. And businesses do at all. I went to Fiverr and paid people $5-10 to give a book testimonial, but they all read the same script. So we had to give them some real unique words to say out loud. So here's our book review medley, our compilation of the unselling. So it's about unselling, the book Unselling, the unselling book review medley, brought to you by Fiverr.
Wow, The new book, Unselling, the new customer experience is the bomb, diggity.
Bomb diggity.
The bomb diggity.
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 Bomb diggity. I've never read a business book this epic. Trust me.
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 Trust me. Go to unsellingthebook.com now. Woo!
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 Woof.
Woo!
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 Woo. Woo.
That is, oh my, what is happening? What is happening? Oh my goodness. I messed up my eCam there. That was wicked. I hope you enjoyed the video. Wicked. One of the other things we did here is one of the problems with a lot of books, and thank you, Mark. One of the problems with books sometimes is that you create a footnote or an endnote with a link to back something up, or you're citing something, or you're saying, hey, go read this article for more. And then what happens, either the site structure that you're referring to changes and it's a broken link, or it doesn't exist anymore. And so one of the ways we solve that for unbranding and everyone going forward, good seeing you, Jeanette, thank you for coming on in, was that we created the unbranding, the book link page. So if you go to unbooklinks.com, I believe it's it's right underneath it. This is where you go, and it's in the book at the very start that says there's links in the book, by the way, they can become broken or dated. So please go to unbooklinks.com. And then you go here and check. And what this does is it allows us to update when there's broken links in the book. Okay, it says it gives us the where the broken tag is, and then where you can then redirect it. So like here we had a news article. The first one, was a home plate peanut butter article, Steph Curry talking about it, but that was no longer there. So we went and found a different article for that. So it just keeps it up to date. And that really kind of works well for us. It doesn't get a huge amount of traffic, but at least it gives some backups and resources. You don't want to at least abandon the book. And it is our latest book, so we want to make sure that it was kind of kept up to date as much as possible. And then in retail, this was a way like this for us is like, it's the coolest thing ever. That even the fact that the book on marketing is still on retail shelves, 11 years since the original came out is so incredible for us. It's just like we know how rare that is, and it blows our minds to do it. And with the kids, and they can see the book on the shelf, it's just the coolest thing ever. And then you walk into a bookstore to offer to sign stuff, and it's funny because I've gone in, and I'm not always looking as pretty as this, and you walk in and you're like, hey, I'm here, and you find your book, and you're like, I'm here to sign the books. And they're like, are you the author? And I'm like, is that usually a problem? Like, is there people who aren't the author of the books that want to sign them? And they're like, can I see some ID? And I'm just like, it's me. Now, some of the older books, it might be harder because the picture is different. But yeah, I've had a few bookstores say, no, thank you. We don't want you to sign them. So, okay. But it's fun because you sign them and then you kind of put it out there on Twitter or Instagram, wherever you want, and say there's signed books here. It works really well during holidays, because signed books are a nice, unique type of gift. But this is us kind of going around there. That is an end cap. The first photo there is an end cap at an Indigo on Yonge Street in Toronto. I think it's Yonge and Eglinton, that one. We didn't even know our books were on the end cap there. We were one of our fans saw it and sent it to us. We drove out there and we signed a bunch of them. And usually you got to pay for those end caps. It's called an end cap, and a lot of people in retail call that an end cap. And it's very special. A lot of the special tables in bookstores too are paid placements. The front of the store, not usually the best sellers, but like these picks of the month, highlight recommended things are paid for usually by the publisher and or the author. And we haven't paid for those type of ones, but we have paid for what you see in this one here, which was the books in Hudson bookstores in airports. And I believe with Unmarketing, we did that with it, and it was $10,000 for three. It was $4,000 a month, but if you did 3 months, it was $10,000. So we did that, and we moved to 1,000 copies, I think, that way. But our thing with Unmarketing was a bigger picture, and it would help with gigs, and we got people reaching out after reading it, and it really did work well for us. But when you do the hybrid publishing, right, we make more per copy. So then it's also, if you move more copies, you're also making more back. With Unmarketing, we make 90 cents or less on the book, but with Jackass, we make much more. So there's a financial versus a reach difference between those two, and it's really depends on what your goal is again as well. There you go. That's what I got for today. Thank you to the regulars who showed up. Happy New Year to the world in Kathmandu, to Abhishek and friends. Thank you for taking the time for hanging out with me today. Working on the Unmarketing Academy. We'll get something out soon. Hope your day is going as well as it can be. And make sure to be kind to everybody, including yourself. Next Wednesday, I think, we'll be there. Hey, good to see you from Germany. What's up, Thomas? I love Around the World that comes on to this. It's so cool. So cool. Anyway, y'all. Good seeing y'all in here. Thank you, Abhishek. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming on as always. Good luck on everything you guys do this week, and we'll see you next week.